She walked into that coffee shop like any other morning, ink trailing down her arm in bold, unmistakable lines. The tattoo wasn't hidden. It never was. A fierce eagle clutching an anchor, wings spread wide, numbers etched beneath it that only certain people would understand. Sarah Chen had worn it proudly for 8 years, but today it would change everything. The whispers started immediately. 3 women at the corner table, designer bags hanging from their chairs, expensive lattes cooling in their manicured hands. "Look at that," one hissed, loud enough to be heard. "A woman with military tattoos. Probably fake. Probably trying to get attention." Her friends giggled, their eyes cutting into Sarah like knives. "I bet she got it to impress some boyfriend. Women like that don't serve. They just want the respect without earning it." Sarah's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She'd heard it before, the assumptions, the judgment, the casual cruelty of people who had no idea what those symbols meant. She ordered her coffee, her voice steady, professional. The barista smiled at her, but the damage was done. The entire shop had heard. Heads turned, eyes judged. "Stolen valor," another woman muttered, shaking her head with disgust. "It's disgusting what people will do for attention these days." Sarah's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her wallet. 8 years. 8 years since that night in Kandahar. 8 years since she'd pulled 3 men from a burning vehicle while rounds snapped overhead. 8 years since she'd earned every single line of that ink. But she stayed silent. She always did. Because explaining herself to people who wouldn't understand felt like pearls before swine. Then the door chimed. He walked in like a storm front, 6'3", shoulders like granite, wearing a simple gray suit that did nothing to hide the coiled power beneath. His hair was silver at the temples, his jaw carved from stone, but it was his eyes that made the room go silent, sharp, assessing. The eyes of a man who'd seen things most people couldn't imagine. He scanned the coffee shop with the automatic precision of someone who'd cleared rooms in hostile territory. His gaze landed on Sarah, standing at the counter, and something flickered across his face. Recognition. Then his eyes dropped to her arm, to that tattoo, and he froze. The numbers beneath the eagle. The specific design of the anchor. The small, almost invisible trident worked into the feathers. His face transformed. In one heartbeat, this imposing figure went from casual observer to someone who understood exactly what he was looking at. "Ma'am," he said, his voice cutting through the coffee shop chatter like a blade. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Sarah looked up, confused. The man was walking toward her with purpose, his expression intense, respectful. When he reached her, he didn't extend his hand for a shake. He didn't smile casually. He stopped precisely 3 feet away and brought his hand up in the sharpest, most crisp salute she'd seen since leaving the service. The entire coffee shop held its breath. "Special Warfare Operator First Class, Sarah Chen," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "SEAL Team 3, Operation Enduring Freedom. Silver Star recipient for extraordinary heroism under fire." He held that salute, unwavering, his eyes locked on hers with absolute respect. The color drained from the faces at the corner table. Hands flew to mouths. Expensive lattes sat forgotten. Sarah's throat tightened, but she straightened her spine and returned the salute, muscle memory taking over. "Commander," she acknowledged, her voice steady despite the emotion flooding through her. "I was there that night in Kandahar," he continued, lowering his hand. "You saved my brother's life. You ran into that inferno 3 times when everyone else took cover. 3rd time, you dragged out Lieutenant Martinez while taking fire from 2 positions." His voice grew thick. "He's home with his kids because of you. because you wouldn't leave him behind. The silence in that coffee shop was deafening. "I've commanded men and women for 26 years, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, his eyes never leaving Sarah's face. "I've served with heroes who wore the trident, and I'm telling everyone in this room right now, this woman earned every piece of that ink. She bled for it. She carried brothers home because of it. And anyone who questions her service doesn't understand the meaning of sacrifice." He turned then, slowly, deliberately, letting his gaze sweep across the room. When his eyes landed on that corner table, the three women looked like they wanted the floor to swallow them whole. Faces burning with shame, they grabbed their bags with shaking hands and practically ran for the door, unable to meet anyone's gaze. The commander turned back to Sarah, and this time he did extend his hand. "Thank you for your service, Operator Chen. It was an honor then. It's an honor now." Sarah shook his hand, feeling the strength there, the solidarity of someone who understood. "Thank you, sir," she managed. As he ordered his coffee, the entire atmosphere of the shop had transformed. The barista handed Sarah her drink with tears in her eyes and refused to let her pay. An elderly veteran across the room stood and nodded, his own respect clear. A young father with his daughter whispered something in her ear, and the little girl looked at Sarah with wide, admiring eyes. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from defending yourself. Sometimes it comes from someone who knows the truth stepping forward and making sure everyone else knows it too. Sarah walked out of that coffee shop with her head high, her tattoo visible, her story no longer silent. And behind her, a room full of people who would never forget the lesson they learned that day. Never judge what you don't understand, and never underestimate the warrior standing right in front of you.